Hello everybody, in today's video I'm talking about the pros and cons of living in Cottonwood, Arizona. So if you've ever thought about moving to Cottonwood or maybe just investing in Cottonwood, or you're just a little bit curious about what it's like to live in Cottonwood, Arizona, stay tuned. In this video I'm going to talk about all the pros and cons of living in Cottonwood, Arizona. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where I'll teach you everything there is to know about living in the northern Arizona towns. My name is Dawn Dickinson, and I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona. So if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, my contact information is always in the description below. So please reach out to me with call, email, or a text, and I will get back to you. All right, so the very first pro about living in Cottonwood, Arizona is that it is more affordable to live there than the neighboring Sedona, Arizona. Now, Sedona is often a big draw to the Verde Valley, but home prices are very expensive there. Home prices and the cost of living generally are less in Cottonwood than Sedona, making it an attractive option for full-time residents, especially if you're thinking of working in Sedona. The median list price for homes for sale in July of 2025 is $478,000, and the median rent price is just over $2,000 per month. So another pro to living in Cottonwood is there are lots of homes with no HOA. So I know it is very attractive. A lot of people call me and they're like, I want a house, but I can't stand an HOA. There are quite a few options in Cottonwood. There are many that have HOAs, but for instance, all of Verde Village's 1 through 6 units all have no HOA. And there are other communities in Cottonwood as well where you could buy a house and then you don't have to deal with the rules or the regulations or the monthly fee or the semi-annual fee that comes with having an HOA. So it is nice and it's very attractive to a lot of people that there are so many communities in Cottonwood where you're not required to belong to a homeowners association. Okay, number 3 is that it is a beautiful natural setting with a lot of outdoor activities. So there are many homes that have beautiful views of, say, the Mingus Mountain Range, or they may look over the red rocks of Sedona and you're able to see Sedona for a distance. So a lot of houses with very nice views, but there are also many activities to do. You can go to Sedona and do a lot of the hiking trails in Sedona, but there still are many places to hike within the Cottonwood area. There are the beautiful fingers with the Verde River and some of the creeks. You can go kayaking, you can go mountain biking, you can do all sorts of camping, all sorts of outdoor activities if you are an outdoor person. A lot of people come to Verde Valley just because they enjoy the outdoor activities. Again, you can get close to Sedona and do many of those touristy activities, but within Cottonwood themselves, the Tuzagoot Park is fun. You can go take walks and look at the ducks and the fish in the pond. So a lot of natural outdoor activities to do if you're living in Cottonwood. Okay, number 4 is it's a mild 4-season climate. So it is a little bit higher elevation than Sedona. Cottonwood is about 3,300 elevation. It does get warm in the summertime. It will be over 100 degrees a lot of times in the summertime, but not nearly as hot as, say, Phoenix or Tucson or Lake Havasu City or Yuma. So if you want to live in Arizona and have more of those 4 seasons, Cottonwood could be a choice. Again, a good choice. Again, in the wintertime, it does get cold, but it does not get cold as cold as, say, Flagstaff or Prescott. So again, kind of a mild temperature, and it does have 4 seasons. You will see in the fall, lots of the trees are turning yellow, gold, brown, and fall to the ground because there are a lot of the cottonwood trees that run up the Verde River, or just many places have the nice foliage like that. So you have the 4 seasons. Number 5. There's kind of a charming old town Cottonwood. A lot of people just come tourists to see the old town Cottonwood, but there's a lot of fun things to do there. There's the revitalized historic district that has a lot of wine tasting rooms, local shops, cafes, events that have the small town charm that a lot of the residents and even the tourists really like about Cottonwood. Okay, number 6 is proximity to some of the tourist towns like Jerome, very close to Jerome, very close to the Verde Valley attractions, the Verde Valley wine tasting trail, and then Sedona. It's about 30 minutes from Sedona. There's all sorts of stuff to do there, but in the wintertime, if you're like a ski buff, you can go to Flagstaff. You can get to Flagstaff in maybe a little bit over an hour from Cottonwood, so you could do the winter sports or go around the other side of Mingus Mountain, and there are all sorts of activities to do in Prescott and Prescott Valley. So the nice location and proximity to some of the other towns that are more expensive that you could just get in the car and go to visit on your day off, that's a very attractive reason to live in Cottonwood. Another thing attractive about Cottonwood, another pro, is the growing food and wine trail. I did mention that it's part of the Verde Valley Wine Trail. Many of those are in Cottonwood, but you also will have neighboring Cornville. We'll have a lot of the wine tasting rooms and wine tasting events, the wineries, very nice. Also the state parks that are there. So lots of good local restaurants. And if you don't like any of the restaurants in Cottonwood, or if you've just, had your fill, go to neighboring Sedona where there are tons of restaurants. And that is very attractive to a lot of people that live there. Okay, number 8, some people just cite the slower pace of life. And I've definitely noticed this when I live in Sedona, which is nearby to Cottonwood. I do sell quite a few homes in Cottonwood, but it is a slower pace when you're considering the other options of even Flagstaff. Flagstaff does move a lot faster because it's a college town, but, well, that's not the only reason, but Flagstaff is a little bit more fast-paced. But when you compare it to like Phoenix or any of the Valley of the Sun, definitely a much slower pace, a much nicer, smoother lifestyle, and a lot of people really like that. It's also very attractive for retirees, remote workers, or those that just like the small town feel. Okay, number 9 is the improving infrastructure. Now again, Cottonwood is a small town, got about 12,000 residents, but there has been growth to the area, which is bringing about more shopping, more healthcare, more services, maybe improving the internet providing options over the years. So it is growing, not as fast as some of the other towns, but that is improving the local infrastructure and bringing more attractions to the area. Okay, number 11 is just the lower elevation than Sedona. So that makes it not as cold in the winter. It's at about 3,300 foot elevation. Sedona, where I am at in Villageville Creek, is 4,000 elevation, but uptown and west is about 4,500. So it will be a little bit warmer in the summertime, but then not as cold in the wintertime. And maybe any of you that are sensitive to higher elevations, that would be a better option for you. Number 12 is that there are smaller schools in the Cottonwood area. So if you like your kid to be in a smaller school with a more favorable student to teacher ratio, that might be a good choice for you. Just give you an example, at the Mingus Mountain High School has only about 1,200 students. So again, smaller schools, some people like that. I did grow up in a very small school district, and it definitely has some perks. So if you like smaller schools for your kids, that could be an option as well. Okay, let's talk about some of the cons of living in Cottonwood. Limited job market, that's probably the biggest con. Outside of healthcare, retail, and tourism, there aren't a lot of professional or high-tech jobs in Cottonwood. Many of the residents commute to Sedona for work, or maybe work remotely, or maybe more agricultural type positions. So not a lot, or no, well, I don't want to say there are very few manufacturing type jobs, high-tech jobs, and so not a lot of jobs in Cottonwood. I do notice there are a lot of real estate agents that grew up in Cottonwood because that's one of the possibilities, but not a huge opportunity for different professions or jobs if you are thinking of, finding work, moving to Cottonwood without a job. That's something you want to think about before you would move here. Summer heat, again, it is a lower elevation than Sedona, so it's going to be warmer in the summertime. Often you'll have days over 100 degrees, but just realize it's not going to be as extreme as Phoenix. Number 3 is there going to be less cultural amenities in the larger cities. I know there's not really a concert hall. If I want to see a concert, I'm going to go to Prescott Prescott Valley to the Toyota Findlay Center. Sometimes there are big concerts there, or go to Phoenix or Flagstaff. Not a lot of museums, not a lot of the things that you may expect from a bigger city. Not as much shopping. There's not a Costco, there's not a Sam's Club, so fewer things like that to choose from in Cottonwood. Public transportation, number 4, limited public transportation. Not long ago, somebody hit and ran my car, and I had to bring it into the body shop, and then I had to get myself to Cottonwood to get the rental car while it was being worked on for a month. Then I couldn't get an Uber. I had to call a friend, come, meet me there and take me to the rental car. And then when it was time to pick up the rental car, drop off the rental car and get back, same thing, I had to get a friend, because not a lot. There's the Verde Valley shuttle. There are some shuttles, but there's not like Uber or many of those options. Not great for public transportation. Number 5 is that there can be high traffic during the tourist season. A lot of the tourists will be coming to Jerome or to Sedona, which is neighboring, and they may be making the traffic in Cottonwood itself a little bit heavier during those times. So that's just something to consider also. Number 6, there are some areas that are still pretty underdeveloped. Even though the towns and the neighborhoods are growing, there's a lot of the areas that are maybe lacking some curb appeal that you might be used to if you're coming from a bigger town. Maybe some that aren't as walkable as you might expect. And even though there are a lot of communities that have no HOAs, which I put as a plus because many people are looking for homes without HOAs, that can also be a problem because there's no rules. A lot of times there might be little pockety areas where the homeowners aren't taking as good a care of their home, like maybe letting the grass grow a little tall or not picking up those weeds. So you could have pockets in some of the areas that are, a little bit distressed, and that's just something you can find in the area. Okay, so number 7, healthcare, I'd say it's adequate, but it's limited. If you have a chronic condition that you're always seeing a specialist, might not be a good choice for you. You may end up going to Flagstaff or Prescott or even Phoenix to get a specialist. Not that there aren't specialists, but there aren't a lot of them. There is a hospital in Cottonwood, but there's, again, not a lot of doctors to choose from, not a lot of specialists, not a lot of services that are involved with healthcare. So a little bit limited on that. Number 8 is lower diversity. I don't think this is a real big issue, but some people ask how diverse it is. It's probably less diverse than some of the other areas like Flagstaff or Phoenix. More diverse culturally than, say, Sedona perhaps, but not a lot of different types of culture living in Cottonwood. So if you're looking for many different types of cultures, might not be a great place for you. Number 9 is there are some pockets that are a little bit more crime-ridden, a little more poverty in little pockets. So you might want to, I do have people a lot of times that will call on Zillow and say, this is a great house. And then I'll look at it and I'm like, it's not really a great neighborhood. It's a little bit run down, or a little bit more crime than some of the other parts of Cottonwood. And that's why the price was so good. So a little bit pockety, a little bit of crime in some neighborhoods, a little bit more run down in some neighborhoods. But then again, you have beautiful neighborhoods and then there's some that are mid-range like Cottonwood Ranch or Mesquite Hills, very nice, even though not too expensive. And then along Magus Mountain, there are some gated communities with bigger homes on acreage. So again, there are lots of different variety of homes, but I don't want you to think there are no pockets that have, without crime or without some poverty, a little bit mixed in that area. So just know that that does exist. And if you see something on Zillow that's super low priced, it could be because it's in one of these pockets that are a little more run down. All right, so number 10 is sometimes the internet, the cell service can be spotty. Sometimes you're driving around and your call will be dropped, or especially if you're a little bit on the outskirt of town, and not all the areas have the best internet service provider. So that's just something that you might want to do a little bit of research on. There's a website, I could give it to you, that will check the providers in a certain neighborhood if you give an address. So, and finally, Cottonwood Airport. So Cottonwood Airport is a very small airport, and because of Embry-Riddle on the other side of Mingus Mountain and Prescott area has so many students, they've done some spillover, at least I've heard, so there's more air traffic going out of Cottonwood Airport now. So some of the areas that are close to the airport or even in Clarkdale, some of the residents have complained that there's more aircraft flying out of the airports and it's got a little bit noisier. So you might just want to look at your proximity to the airport if you're interested in buying a home. So that's it. That's the basic pros and cons of living in Cottonwood, Arizona. My name is Dawn Dickinson and I am a licensed real estate, and I sell primarily in Sedona and Verde Valley, which would be Sedona, Cottonwood, Clark, Cornville, and Rimrock, Camp Verde. So if you ever have a question about buying a home in Cottonwood or Verde Valley or anywhere in the state of Arizona, feel free to go to the contact information in the description below. I would love to hear from you, love to talk about real estate. And if you enjoyed the video, please do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing. I post videos like this every single week, so I'd love to see you back here on my channel again next week.